a monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Knows what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal, Tony. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. How you been, Corey?
I've been good. Been chilling, relaxing, living the dream. How about yourself?
I'm about the same, buddy. About the same.
I had to fix that camera angle a little bit.
Yeah.
So
You're good, though.
We're back. We're doing another Bava film.
We are.
Before we get into it, I don't know how you feel about sharing pickups anymore. I totally have 2 pickups that actually came in the mail today.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. We haven't done one of these in a while.
You want to see it?
Yeah, you know I do.
I'll start since we're doing Bava. You gotta.
Killer.
Yeah.
I do not have the Blu-ray. I have the DVD. It's like one of the only Bava films I don't have on Blu-ray.
Really?
Yeah.
It's honestly like being a Kino, you think it would be like really expensive. It's not.
Yeah.
I think I paid $12.99 for it, if I'm not mistaken, on Amazon right now.
Is there a sale going on?
I don't know.
Okay.
Sure
if there was or not.
I picked up another one and it was $14. But it's not a Bava film.
Hella cheap, man.
You're gonna love this one because I've been dying to have this one in my collection for a long time since you and I had an experience. And I was like, dude, I've got to have this movie in my collection, and I don't. Okay. And it has clowns in it. Can you name that movie?
It has. Oh yeah. You didn't have that?
No.
Wow, I thought you did have Circus of the Dead. Okay.
Nope. Yeah.
No, I thought for some reason when we used to do the horror pack, I thought it came in a horror pack. No. Okay.
No.
No, that's killer, man.
You're thinking. I know which one you're thinking of. Actually, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Horror pack is not going to put that movie in their box.
Yeah.
Papa Corn.
Yeah. He's a. Yeah. I can kind of get why. A lot of controversy there, but yeah, that's cool, dude. Nice, two great pickups right there.
So if anyone hasn't seen Circus of the Dead, this is just how fun this film is. Well, for us it is, but pretty much I had told a guy about it. He couldn't, for the life of him, find it. He had all these streaming services. The only place that he could find that movie was on Pornhub.
Really?
He said that he watched it on Pornhub, and he was quoting the movie constantly at work, and and then people are like, "What are you guys talking about?" Because we were always like, "Papa Corn gets what he wants." And so we kept saying that throughout, like, while we were working and shit, and pretty much people are like, "What's that about?" So he would go on to tell them, and they kind of looked at me and they were like, "You're really fucked up."
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I haven't had too many conversations about that movie with people, but
we need to do a review on it, though.
I mean, dude, Terrifier 2 is killing it in the box office right now, and
I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
Oh, no, I haven't, but I've heard things, and I mean, I'm hearing the old it's making people faint and throw up and just have an experience, and the same thing that you were hearing when The Exorcist was in theaters in the 70s. So that's actually pretty promising. I like that's going on. It's getting a more visceral reaction out of the audience, which is something you don't quite get anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the gore is very, very heavy. It's supposed to be twice the amount. No, even more than that. At least 5 times the amount. I'm just paraphrasing here. I don't know. 5 times the amount of gore from the original, which the original was pretty damn gory. So I can't imagine. But the fact that it's a 2 hour long movie as well. So that's extended, I guess, extended.
That's a bit scary.
I mean, it's promising. So if movies like that are doing well, I know it's a limited run in theaters, but the demand is so high that they actually extended it another couple weekends. So I guess up until Halloween, which makes sense. I mean, that's actually pretty smart. But yeah, it's doing really well. It's far exceeding what they expected it to do.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of shared something in the group the other day about horror being really, really hot right now, and
It really is.
and movies in theaters are just like horror films in theaters are just raking in the cash right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, far exceeding what they even the smallest amount of expectations. They're far exceeding it. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool, dude. It's promising. I always get weary of it. I'm like, oh, hopefully it's not just like a fad or a trend. But horror films have always done well. Traditionally, they've always done well because they're made on such a small budget that they really do make their money back. I mean, for the most part, unless it's just complete bomb. But
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's not a fad right now. And that, I mean, it's going to be Halloween soon, so I guess people are just getting into the holiday
Yeah.
season.
You know, honestly, I don't think it is because, I mean, yes, there's a huge mainstream audience for horror, you know, but at the same time, you know, you got like people like us, and the horror community is so damn big, it's unreal.
Massive.
And
Yep.
I can't tell you, like I come in contact with people on a weekly basis where we talk about horror films. And I mean, just the other day, I was at work, and I've been working there for since like July.
Mhm.
And there's a guy there that I've known all this time, and he's just now finding out that I'm on a podcast. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I collect movies too. I collect obscure titles." And one of his favorite films in his collection is a Serbian film. That's like, that's fucking obscure. That's really obscure. Like, I won't even have that. So
Sure, yeah.
kudos to you, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and you know, we were talking about like the holy grails of my collection and stuff like that. It's a really cool conversation.
You know, don't get conversations like that very often. I mean,
No.
there's horror fans, and then there's horror fans, and there's physical media people, and then there's just casual fans that just they don't collect films or anything like that. They just go to the theaters and watch it, and it's like a one and done thing.
Yeah.
There's plenty of
Well,
that, but
I'm meeting a lot of people nowadays that actually do collect physical media, but they don't just collect just one genre. Like for us, it's one genre, but for them, like they collect everything. Like even my obscure title friend that, you know, where he was saying that he collects obscure titles. It's not just horror. He collects a lot of sci-fi and a lot of westerns and stuff like that. So, and then like in my subdivision, I came in contact with a guy a couple of years ago where we were talking, and he was actually saying that he collects films, but not so much like horror films, but he does collect, in a sense, he does collect horror films because he mainly collects Arrow, Scream Factory. So he collects by the production company.
with the releasing company, yeah.
Yes. One of the things that he's big on is Criterion.
Oh,
Like he goes out to, as soon as like they're having their sale at Books A Million, he's there picking up every title.
dude, it's funny when I went to go, and I wish I had them with me. They're downstairs, but I picked up, and I showed it in the group. I picked up the new 4K Halloween, and I mean these are recent. This is the only thing I've picked up in quite some time, but I picked up the 4K Halloween because the price was great on it, and I picked up the Steelbook of TCM, and
Yeah, I saw that.
both of them really cool. I love the aesthetic packaging. All of it was great. But when I went there, I saw Criterion's at Best Buy, which is where I found them. And I was kind of surprised because I don't normally see Criterion's at Best Buy, but they had Brian De Palma's Blowout, which is a movie I absolutely fucking love. And man, I wanted to pick it up so bad, but I was like, the price is a little steep. I know usually the Criterion sale's going on, and I'm fairly comfortable around the sale price when the sale's going on. So I was like, as much as I love that movie, I'm just gonna hold off. Man, I was wanting to pull the trigger on that so bad. But yeah, like I said, there's tons of other stuff. I mean, I have more or less a pretty predominant horror collection, but I do collect like, you know, films that just mean a lot to me. Like, I collect different versions of RoboCop because I love RoboCop. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh yeah.
So I have multiple editions of RoboCop. I mean, I got a lot of freaking films, De Palma films, Tarantino film. I mean, I collect other directors and genres and stuff like that, but more predominantly horror. But yeah, I mean,
I'm that way. Like I've got all the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, see, I mean,
I love Planet of the Apes.
And I got all the James Bonds because me and Jonathan just absolutely love the Bond series. So
that's cool.
I mean, it's cool, man. We'll sit down and he's more into the Craig Bonds, which makes sense. I mean, we'll sit down and he'll be like, "Dad, can we watch Casino Royale? Dad, can we watch Casino?" He loves Casino Royale, so we'll sit down and watch Casino Royale and just have a ball because it's such a fucking good movie, man.
That is
it's so good. I mean,
definitely.
Now I'm talking about Bond. Sorry. Like I said, collect a whole bunch of different other stuff, other than just predominantly horror. But the horror collection is where the most attention is paid.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, before we get into the main event, folks, if you're not a part of our Facebook group, we are posting things in there, horror related. We don't usually, what's the word I'm looking for? We don't usually really monetize too much on what you post, as long as you guys don't post like advertisements, stuff like that. But anything horror related, we love memes, jokes, pickups, whatever.
Thoughts,
thoughts, questions,
or questions,
conversations.
We love it. What I love is when somebody's like, "I'm trying to think of this movie," and then they post like a brief plot and then things that happen and stuff like that, and you have to guess the title of the movie. I love stuff like that. So if anybody's got a movie out there that you just can't think of, been trying to think for the longest time, put it out there. See if me and you or somebody in the group can help you, because it's a pretty knowledgeable group. Stuff like that, but really just anything horror. I mean, like you said, themes, pickups, just general thoughts on what you think about this movie, that movie. It's all welcome.
Even clips of films if you want, whatever. So make sure you head over there. Make sure you tell your friends about us. Keep the ball rolling with us. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe our episodes, and we appreciate it. You guys ultimately are keeping us going, so we thank you. But yeah, with that, Tony, what are we covering tonight?
We are covering Mario Bava's 1963's Black Sabbath.
Yes.
Very influential film. A very, very influential film, not just in the genre, but also in music. This is actually the film that the metal band Black Sabbath named their band after, which is really cool. They were all they were playing a gig in Birmingham, and they saw on the marquee that Mario Bava's Black Sabbath was playing, and they were just amazed by the amount of people that were going in to pay to be scared. And they're like, really? That's really cool. Maybe we should kind of incorporate that into our band. So they changed their band name from Earth to Black Sabbath. One of the founding fathers of metal, the first metal band, as many say. So that's that correlation with horror and metal and the two entwined, and so perfect ideals. So yeah, an anthology film. I feel like we haven't covered an anthology film in quite some time, so that's exciting.
I don't think we have covered an anthology, have we?
I'm trying to think. I could have sworn we did one, but I don't know. We've done so many episodes at this point. I really have to go back and.
Well, I
and
mean, the one that we would have possibly done is All Hallows Eve, but I'm not sure that we did it. Did we?
That's the one I was thinking of, so I didn't want to say with 100% certainty that's what we've done.
Folks, don't judge us.
Yeah,
This is our 94th episode.
We're climbing the bar.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little hard here of what to cover, because I've got to go back and like look at notes and stuff and see what we covered. Those roulette episodes really killed it for me.
Right, yeah, the roulette episodes is where it gets kind of hazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like we've covered an anthology film before, but if we have not, and this was our first one, it's a hell of a one to start out with.
Yeah.
Very, very influential in a lot of aspects, not just anthologies, but we'll cover as we get into each segment. But there's 3 segments in total. And I love what my main thing about this anthology in particular is, and I know it's different depending on which version you watch, because there's multiple different versions out there. Some of them will flip-flop the segments, and that's unfortunate, because I think with the one I saw, I love the structure of this anthology. So in the beginning, the first segment, you have a very, very small cast. The second segment, you have a much larger cast. And then the final segment, which is the third segment, have another predominantly small cast. So I love how small cast, large cast, small cast. I think that's really well structured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So folks, before we get into this fully, yeah, you know what? I don't know where you can find this. I don't know if it's on any streaming app or anything like that. Did you do your research to find out?
I'm sad to say I did not. I know I feel like I fail every time I do that, but
no, it's perfectly fine.
It's more. I'm sure if you type in the search for it, 1963, the title, I'm sure you're going to find it available to watch somewhere, because it's not really an obscure film by any means, and I do believe it has a streaming option out there or two. So if you do want to check it out, just by all means type in the title 1963. Boom, it should give you a plethora of options. It should, like I said, not really obscure title. It's a Bava film, so it should be out there for people to watch.
Yeah, more than likely it's on like Prime Video or something. Yeah. You know, and even if it's to rent, it's probably not much. Because I know the physical media that I bought was, I think it was like right around $14. So it wasn't too bad. Did you did you watch the Kino version?
I did. I watched this version right here, the Kino Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's the same version. So we both watched the
Italian cut.
Subtitled version.
Yes.
So we didn't watch the dubbed version, which I think I have my DVD is dubbed, if I'm not mistaken. It might be subtitled. I don't know. I haven't seen my DVD in quite some time, but this version is not dubbed. This version is subtitled. So.
Well, are you sure it's not dubbed? Because as I'm watching and reading the subtitles, their lips was not matching the words.
Well, yeah. Well, that, of course, the way they shoot films in Italy, it's kind of,
Okay. I found it odd to me. I was like, wonder if they actually filmed this in English and dubbed Italian into it.
Well, I'm sure they did. I'm sure. Well, Karloff, I know, didn't speak Italian. I don't think he did.
No.
But he's definitely speaking English. So they definitely did that. So he, which is cool. This is, like I said, the big name, of course, in this is Boris Karloff, the legendary Boris Karloff.
Mm-hmm.
Played, of course, Frankenstein's monster. He played the Mummy in the old Universal films.
Mm-hmm.
So much. I mean, he has such a legendary career. He's done plenty of things with Bela Lugosi, Black Cat, stuff like that. So he's a legend in the genre. whenever you think, but of course, whenever you think Boris Karloff, you always think of Frankenstein. And he had his most famous role, um, the role that defined his career. Because up until that point, he basically typecast him into being a horror actor. He had really good roles to kind of, which is a shame. I mean, he's a great actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So not a shame, but it's. I don't know if he was typically, not too many actors are typically happy with being typecast, especially at that time. But they were able to pay the bills with their roles, so I'm sure they were fine with it. They were accepting of the roles. But yeah, he's like I said, he's a legend in the genre. So he is the big marquee name in this. And of course, I love how as soon as you hit play, the movie starts with him giving an introduction, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It is funny to see him talking and then Italian coming out. It's funny.
Yeah, I dug it. I love that intro where he's talking, and I love how he's like, how he's speaking to the audience as if they were like in the movie theater. He's like, oh, vampires are real. They could be sitting right next to you right now.
Yeah, I love that. It's
Yeah.
great. It's like so personal.
I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was great, and I'm glad he was able to segue the first segment, which the first segment we have here is called The Telephone.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the quick synopsis of this one is we have a young lady returning to her apartment. I think it's an apartment, like the layout of the apartment, which we'll talk about later when we talk about the movie, how the structure is with where she's living and everything else. We'll talk about that. But basically, she returns home and she gets a phone call. And the first couple of times she gets a phone call, no one responds. So she's just like, okay, number. But it's repeating. She keeps getting these constant phone calls, and it's starting to kind of drive her crazy. And then, soon enough, somebody answers on the other end, and they're threatening her and speaking to her in a very ominous tone, telling her that she's basically going to die. A quick synopsis of very, very small, short segment, and it like I said, the cast is very minimal. You only have 3 really characters in this segment. The main girl who lives in the apartment, Rosie, and her friend Mary, and then there's Frank. And basically, oh man, this is the precursor to Giallo, man. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, this has Giallo written all over it.
It really does. I could see where the maestro was hard at work. I mean, this is probably one of his favorite segments, I feel, of this entire anthology. Just because not so much of it's so weird to say that that Mario Bava, this could potentially be, out of the 3 shorts, this is probably his favorite. And the reason why, honestly, that's really hard to say, because we'll get into the second segment too, and I feel very similar about that one, but in a different way. But when you were talking about certain things, like I noticed certain things when she walked in the room, she not her, when her neighbor, maybe not neighbor, what was she? What was her name? Mary? Yeah. So Mary, who I guess was a friend of hers, and they had a falling out. That's what I got from it. Or at least I felt that way, because they kind of bashed each other a little bit, but she was scared for her life, so she wanted her to come over.
There's a little hint of subtext there where I think they might have been in a lesbian relationship, man. I think that they were, I think it was more than just a friend. They were like ex-lovers, and which is very, very early, and that is some subtext that Bava kind of kind of hinted at in there, and it's pretty not transgressive during that time, because that wasn't really happening a lot. So interesting. The more and more I see the segment, I realize that there's sort of like it's almost like a love triangle in a way. Just I find it pretty fascinating because it's so minimally like explored. I'm not minimally. No, I'm not going to say that, because there is some great subtext that you pick up on, but it's not like in your face, like something.
It's very subtle.
Very subtle. Very
Yeah,
subtle.
because I didn't even pick up on that. I felt that they were friends and had a falling out.
Well, they definitely did. Definitely had a falling out, and that's the biggest like takeaway from it is her. Yeah, is the fallout between the two. Yeah,
because there's a semi plot twist that you do find out right before she comes over.
Did we do spoilers already? We're definitely digging into the segments.
We are digging in, and folks, stop it right here because you will be getting into spoiler territory. So we do cover these films heavily, so don't want to ruin anything for you. Go buy it. Go get on Amazon Prime. Whatever you have to do to watch this movie, because I mean, come on, people, it's fucking Mario Bava.
It's well worth it, especially around this time of year. Check it out.
Oh yeah, the atmosphere alone.
It's an accessible Italian horror film.
Okay, so what I was getting at, Tony, was when you notice Mary walk in the room. So at this point, so things happen pretty rapidly in this segment. Like you said, this is a very short, and it is. So pretty much, she thinks that she's getting phone calls from this gentleman by the name of Frank, who she basically helped the police indict him into prison. Like she went to court, and I from what I gather, she testified against him, and he broke out of prison. So now she's getting these phone calls, and it's claiming to be Frank. But lo and behold, we find out that it's not Frank, it's Mary.
Yeah.
And so I love the when she's like beating on the door. Mary comes in, and she's like, "How did you get in?" And she was like, "Oh, the door was wide open." And it's like, that wouldn't be concerning. Like you're getting death threats by your ex-boyfriend, husband, whatever the fuck he was. And now, whatever he was, he could have been a neighbor for all we knew. But it's just funny how they're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact too is she never thinks to call the cops at any point.
Well, she's threatened, remember? Because he's like, "I'm right here. The cops will take 40 minutes."
But I mean, that's just like, I don't know. I mean, still, you would think.
Yeah, I would still make them aware. Hey, you're gonna find me in the morning dead.
The fact that he keeps calling, or the calls keep coming in, and you keep getting the threats. But it's more. There's a lot of sexuality to it, man. This is a very sexual short. I mean, there's a lot of eroticism in this one. There's a lot of like hedonism in this segment. It's the way that Bava frames her in the shot is very, very sexy. She was
quite gorgeous in all the shots.
Very attractive lady, and the camera just swoons on her and really captures all of her beauty, the curve. I mean, everything. And she goes through like wardrobe changes. She's getting out of the dress and then into a nightgown, and then I mean, you can definitely there was some more erotic shots or more erotic angles, without being too erotic, because of course don't get any nudity or anything like that.
No nudity. Yeah. A
lot of implied stuff, and I find that fascinating, which totally works too, because that's what giallos do. Is that they capture some of the most beautiful women ever put to screen in very erotic ways without being like overly sleazy. I mean, they can be sleazy. I'm not going to say that, because some some of them out there are just downright sleazy, but there's some that are just more like artfully done, if that makes any sense. More,
Again, it's Mario Bava.
yeah. Well, it's Bobby. Yeah, he has a
Yeah.
class in him that is just on another level. So
Yeah.
even shots like that are just like, ooh, this is very erotic, and this is like quite beautiful.
Hmm. Well, one of the things that I was getting at is when Mary comes in,
Mm.
I noticed that she was wearing black gloves.
Boom, there you go.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh, there's a hint.
There's,
Which, I mean, at this point, you know, as an audience member who's making the phone calls, it's Mary.
yeah,
So at this point, you're as an audience member, you're like, okay, is she fucking with her? Is she gonna kill her? What's she doing? And she's acting very strange throughout, you know, because she's cutting off lights. She's, you know, clearly trying to coax your main actress into bed, you know, to go to sleep. Not that, um, but she's like, you know, at one point she's, I think, picking up a knife in the kitchen,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, she's actually gonna fucking kill her. Like, and then
yeah, I love it
you
because
see
you
her
just
drugging her.
yeah, you're anticipating like, oh my god, is she gonna actually
Yeah.
is she gonna actually attack her with it, or what's going on? Like what's gonna happen? And it's very kind of intense the way it's shot. It's
Hmm.
very cocky too the way it's done. I got a lot of like just feels of Hitchcock in this segment too. It's another thing
I could see that.
because I know Bava
Definitely.
was very influenced by Hitchcock. I mean, everybody was.
Yeah.
I mean he's like I said the master. So I mean, a lot of people downright stole. I'm not saying Bava stole from Hitchcock, not at all. I think it's more of a homage than anything else. But a lot
Hmm.
of people downright steal from Hitchcock. So he's hugely influential to many filmmakers. But yeah, I was getting a lot of vibes from that
Yeah.
too. I love the clock, the ticking clock. You always hear it in the background. It's like, especially in the beginning, like there's the phone calls and there's a theme, like a constant theme through each segment of a certain sound going on, and we'll get into it when we get into other segments. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's so cool. I love that. It really just draws you in. It adds its own atmosphere in a way, which is really cool. Um, but yeah, along with the phone ringing and stuff like that, it's just it is a very quiet segment, to be honest with you. There's not
Hmm.
a lot of dialogue. I mean,
Well,
there's
she's by herself for the
right, yeah,
first couple segments of it.
she's not going to be talking to herself really, too. So it's more or less, especially in the beginning, very quiet. It's almost foreboding, like it's
Yeah.
just great stuff.
Well, one of the things that I really liked, I actually wrote it in my notes. I actually did write the woman in the shots of the room. But the other thing was the subtle usage of red throughout this segment in her apartment. I love how
Yeah,
this whole apartment was damn near white, and then there was like subtle objects of red. So you had which I wrote down three things.
well, I know one was the big one.
The phone,
Phone, yeah.
yeah, the phone. The stairs were red. Um, there was something else. Maybe it was like a record player.
Mm,
I think that was red. And then there's like a small little like room off in the background where it's got a
right.
statue, and
Mhm.
that whole room is red.
Oh, interesting.
And that's it. Like, and it just goes to show these Italian films with their color pops, you
Color.
know.
It's just they're better than any other like any other film.
Hmm.
They do that masterfully. They're the masters of the Technicolor, the cinematography, the bright greens, the bright blues, the
Hmm.
reds. Bava went on to perfect this in Blood and Black Lace. In that movie, you see so much red in damn near every frame there's something that's red, and it's so prominent, and it's so masterfully done. I think it's perfect. But yeah, I think that's cool that you noticed that, because Blood and Black Lace will come out later, and it's like, okay, he really went with that. Being a giallo film, kind of took that from his segment in this and kind of worked that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Another small thing I noticed, which is really cool, a small little detail, is that every time Rosie answers the phone, she has a little bit more sweat on her brow, and there's constant sweat in this movie, but it's not overly done. I know that's kind of a weird way to say it, but this is a very, very small little detail.
I noticed it on Mary when Mary was dead.
Mary, yeah, even her, because they're like both nervous and racked. They're kind of like, well, not so much Mary, but Rosie's like freaked out the whole time. I mean, she's very on edge and on just, yeah, she's just, her nerves are shot. But I love that they added that little small detail, and you can see it so well in this cleaned up, beautiful Blu-ray. Oh God, so great.
So plot twist. We find out Mary's the one that's calling, and we think as an audience member Mary's going to kill Rosie, when in reality she's not. This entire time, so she drugs Rosie, and then she sits down to write a letter, and she's writing a letter explaining how she saw where Frank had escaped from prison and opted to prank her into scaring her.
Yeah,
no, that was it.
Yeah, she wanted to scare her back into her arms. Essentially, she wanted to get her to the point where she was so desperate she called her to welcome her back into her life, because they, like you said, they had a falling out. They weren't on good speaking terms. I guess she found this was the only way to kind of get back into her life, was to make her so on edge and nervous about this guy coming to attack her and kill her that she called her for help. So that was her big masterful plan, which I don't really understand how she was able to talk like Frank on the phone.
Apparently, if you talk into a handkerchief, you have a complete sex change.
Yeah, right. It's almost like you're using a voice modifier, like 3. It's just like,
hello, Sydney.
It's so bizarre, man. I don't know how they did that. And then so when she calls her, she's like, okay, yeah, I'll be there in about 5 minutes. So obviously they live in like an apartment complex or something, and she's not too far away, like lives maybe a few doors down or something. It's the only thing I could think. But then I was wondering, like, you have a pair of eyes staring at her through the window shade,
which I thought were Frank's.
Right. Well, I'm trying to think, like, it might have been Frank, because, like I said, plot twist, at the end of the movie, Frank does show up. I mean, he is there. Unbeknownst to Mary didn't know this.
No. Yeah, Mary caught a surprise, not a prize. That'd be awful.
That would be awful. But no, it like I said, she didn't expect. I don't think well, of course, she didn't expect that. So it's interesting. Like,
strangled by pantyhose, right? Is that what? Yeah, strangled by pantyhose. That's a first.
Yeah, very sexual, man. I'm telling you, it's a lot of sexuality in this short. Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, I think those eyes were Frank. I think he was kind of creeping on her and spying on her. But the fact that it just intertwines with both of them being there was really crazy.
I love the camera angle too. That I believe there was like a close up of his eyes at one point while he was looking at Rosie, because Rosie woke up and she was in shock and awe that this was occurring. Like, she was seeing Mary get strangled. And she could have like jumped up and saved Mary's life, but she was like, you know what? Fuck that bitch. I'm just gonna watch her die.
She was almost in like shock. She couldn't move.
Yeah.
I guess and then well, Mary made a point to say something that was interesting, and it kind of settled Rosie down a little bit when she told her, excuse me, Frank is not a a killer. He's an exploiter. So I guess he kind of lowered her guard a little bit, thinking that, oh, he really is. I don't know if he has like that in him. But then she kind of like started to question it later and say maybe he does because I'm the one that put him away, essentially. So he has a real strong grudge against me, not only because of what happened in the past, but because I also had a hand in him going to jail, going to prison. So, yeah. So that was cool. Maybe that lowered her guard just slightly, just to make it a little bit more comfortable, and then she started to get unnerved again, and especially when, of course, you see Frank and he's zeroing in to attack her while she's laying down. It's so giallo, man. It's so well done. Everything Bava does is just attention to detail is so great.
Yeah. And then she miraculously finds a knife beside her and stabs him.
Well, that's the knife that she gave her earlier when she pulled her. Yeah, she kept it underneath her pillow just to be on the safe side. But it ended up coming in handy.
Yeah.
That was, like I said, quick segment. It really flies by. Like I said, I don't know if it's the quickest. I don't know the runtime of each one, but it definitely feels like maybe the second fastest, with the third segment being the fastest, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely the second segment's the longest. I
feel. Of course, it has Bava, or not Bava, Karloff in it. Yeah. So, well, so we're done with this first segment. You ready to get into the second one?
I am, man.
All right. So, second one is don't.
Can you say the name?
The Word-a-Lock.
Word-a-Lock. Yes. There you go. It's not bad.
Yeah. So this one was very different, even for me as a Bava film. This is kind of different, kind of out of the. Well, I don't know, because I love the atmosphere in it. There was strong atmosphere in this film.
It's another thing, Bava and atmosphere go hand in hand. He captures atmosphere so well. In the films that he features, like thick atmosphere, like it's done perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like we talked about it in Kill Baby Kill. We talked about it in Black Sunday. I mean, he knocks it out of the park when it comes to atmosphere.
Every time. Yeah. So you want to do the little short plot of it?
Yeah. So we essentially have our main character, Vladimir. He is crossing into another town, and along his travels, these are all period pieces. Well, this one's a period piece. So it takes place way back. I'm not even quite sure exactly when it takes place, but I know it's a long time. So he is traveling to another town, and he spots a body on his travels with a dagger sticking out of it. So it's like, oh, this is curious. So he looks, and he finds that the body is decapitated, crudely decapitated. And he's like, "What the fuck? What's going on here? I don't get this." So I guess the next house he goes to, it's a small, well, not small family. It's actually a pretty extended family. It's a family of two brothers and a sister, and one of the brothers' wife and their son. They're waiting on their father to return, who's been gone for 5 days. I think that's an important piece of the story. Because he went off to find and kill a Turkish bandit, I think is what they said.
Yeah, they were calling it like a Turkish bandit.
Right. Who has been killing and just downright like torturing people. And one of their hands, their hands with their stable, I don't know who it was. Somebody that worked for them was killed, so the father, played by Boris Karloff, his name is Gorka, I think his name is. he decides to take it upon himself to find this man and get revenge. And the fact of the matter is, this man is a wordalak. But you would think, you hear that and you're like, oh, is that some sort of like werewolf, or is that some sort of man beast, or this and that? No, it's not really. It's essentially a zombified vampire.
Yeah, it's like a ghoul vampire.
Ghoul vampire, yeah. The cool thing about this is, and it's really really dark, and it's really really sad. The Wordalak actually, his victims are his loved ones. So it's the people that he loves the most. So if you're a Wordalak and you're like a family man, you're a father or something, you're going to go after your children and your wife, or vice versa. That you're going to go after family members, people you love and you care about the most. That is who they essentially go after and kill, which is really dark, man. Really, really dark stuff. But yeah, so they're waiting in anticipation. They kind of like, Vladimir kind of just shows up at their house, and they're like, oh, well, you can stay with us, but only for a short time, because by the time our father gets back, you have to go because you may be in danger. He might have become a Wordalak. So everybody's kind of on edge. They don't know when he's going to return. But then when he does return, crazy shit happens. So this one, man, I like this one because it features the theme heavily in this. The main theme of the film is featured a lot in this movie. Which is really cool. I love that because I really like the theme. Really, really bombastic, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I dug it. Honestly, like, and this is me critiquing, I would have loved, like, well, I don't know. Honestly, yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna say anything. I like it the way it is, really.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking more colors popping in this, but I'm fine with the way it was.
The cool thing about this, I think this was Bava's attempt to like recreate like Universal horror. Like this was his love letter to Universal horror, and more like, this feels like a Hammer horror film, like Dracula or something like that. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
Atmosphere, the way it's shot, the period, like all of that stuff just screams like Hammer horror to me. More so than Universal. I mean, that's what I gravitate to when I think of this one.
Yeah.
Feels like Italian Hammer film, or Hammer segment, because it's not a full length feature, but it's, oh man, it's dude, it's everybody is on edge and unnerved, and except for our lead Vladimir, who's just like, what's going on? Like, he's completely oblivious. Yeah. It's another one of those things where we kind of talked about in Kill Baby Kill, where this family is very superstitious and stuck in the old tradition, and he is like the newcomer, and he doesn't really understand their traditions and their beliefs, and he's kind of like, conflicting with that, and it plays out really cool. I remember saying that there's a theme with sound, and in the first segment, of course, it was the ticking of the clock. In this one, it's the wind. It's like predominantly ethereal sound of the wind and the storm, and like, well, not storm, but just the wind cutting through and stuff like that. It's really, really unnerving and really, really atmospheric, and it's so prominent in this that it's perfect.
Yeah. One of the things I didn't care for the story is, but I mean, it fits the story, but the like, oh, I'll never let anything happen to you. I love you. Goddamn, you just fucking walked into the house. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, it blew my mind. It's like, I guess love at first sight. I don't know, but he's just like, he's like, oh, I'm gonna tear this up.
That's exactly what it was, man. It was a love at first sight kind of thing. Well, that's what happens in like a lot of the movies from the 60s and the 50s and stuff like that. It's, you have like you have to have the main character who's a man, and the main female, or the main male lead and the main female lead. You have to have them fall in love. That's like cut and dry. It has to be done. It has to be in the script. It has to be like in everything. There's always like some romance in like even the 50s and 60s. Like it just like goes hand in hand with it. Like I said, it's more or less the same in this. I mean, he meets her, he's automatically smitten by her. I mean, which is understandable. She's an absolutely stunning woman. So, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I get it. She's the only one available because she's the only one that isn't with a partner. Well, no, the other brother is too. So, because the oldest brother, I think, is the one that's married and has a wife and a son. And you know, he's just automatically just boom, gravitated, fixated on her, and just like that, they fall in love. It's like just that quick. It would be a critique, but that is just like how the structure for all of like the 50s and 60s horror films. That's kind of how they were. A lot of them were structured. It was almost like a cliche at that time.
Kind of a written rule.
Yeah.
Because
the two leads have to fall in love. That just has to happen.
Yeah.
We can't have a story without the two leads falling in love. It just can't happen.
Honestly, if the climax of this short didn't happen the way that it did, I would have more of a problem with it.
I was gonna do. There you go. You nailed it. You nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just because, I mean, I and don't get me wrong, I love the ending of this, and it just goes to show, I guess, what a person will go through for love in the end. So, I mean, I guess the dude was really in love with her because, well, I'd be like, all right, deuces.
Well,
yeah, not happening.
Yeah.
Cool. Something about living the rest of time. No, I'm good.
Well, it goes to show, like, what is a wordalike? What is the wordalike like? How does it live? Like, is it cognizant? Is it just like, because you know, a lot of the characters that were turned into the wordalike were still able to communicate and talk and manipulate, and it was almost like,
well, so do vampires.
Right, it was almost like a prototypical vampire.
And they were even biting on the neck.
Right, even though they had the appearance of like a ghoul, because even Karloff's makeup, you could tell it was just like gray paint smeared on his face to make him look like he was weathered and cold, and he turned into basically a ghoul.
I honestly like how you could tell, like, when he showed up at the farmhouse, how he was like in the early stages of this, and then through time he looked a little worse off and worse off.
Yeah. Well, he's a little bit more disheveled too. His hair was all over the place. He looked completely disheveled, even from the first time you see him. Which I love the first time you see him, and he turns his face, like, it's such a good shot. And one of my favorite shots was when he's walking across the bridge. Oh my God, I love that shot. It's beautiful, man.
I love everything about it. One of the things that I really like, so I guess it's no, you know, not a secret. So Karloff is a Wardalak or vampire ghoul, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So he shows up and he's got the full intention that he's going to change his entire family.
Yeah.
And whoever's in the path. So he starts off by turning his grandson.
It's really
yeah, and then his what is it, daughter-in-law, I guess you would say. Maybe. Did he turn her first?
No, he went after I think he got Pietro, who was his son, because he was like he was like in the kitchen, like guarding everybody. Found him dead, so he was able to get to him. Then he was able to take the grandson and take off with him, which is a really cool shot of him riding the horse and looking like he's like possessed almost, and it's a really neat shot. Love the way it was done. But then the older brother, who is Giorgio, goes
Mhm.
at pleading with him, please bring me back my son, please bring me back my son, because he's completely desperate. He wants his son back, and he's afraid of what his dad's going to do. Because at the end of the day, the oldest son has no balls. He doesn't challenge him. He doesn't. I know. I'm just got to be honest with you. He doesn't challenge him. And the scene that really excels that is when Boris Karloff's character Gorka, he comes back. He's shifting around. He's getting back home. He's completely and utterly disheveled, like we said. And as soon as he gets there, the dog starts howling, and it's really, really creepy. The dog is just howling and howling, and it eventually gets on his nerves. And he's like, "Well, you stop that dog from howling!" And he yells at his son, and he's like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" Basically, and he throws the gun at him. He tells him to shoot him, and it's like, holy shit! And even his son's like, "But he's your favorite pet. He's your favorite dog," and he's like, "Kill it, kill it!" And it's like, oh my god, dude, that's fucking vicious, man. Like he
Yeah.
has no sympathy, no care at all. He's completely gone.
That's when the guy that was visiting, Vlad, was that his
Yeah,
name?
Vladimir. Yeah.
Yeah, if I was him, I would have just been like, all right, well, let's all go shoot the dog, and they just fucking leave.
Well, it's almost like their fate. Like it's nothing they can really do. That they seem to like understand. It is kind of weird because they, especially Svenka, the girl that he falls in love with, the
Yeah.
daughter. She almost is completely accepting of it. Like I'm gonna die. There's no point in me finding love and happiness in this because my fate is death. And
Hmm.
it's really like tragic. And I feel like we've had this conversation with the movie we watched already, that it's just like they accept their fate as being killed by the people that they love and they care for the most. And it's just really, really fucked up when you really think about
Hmm.
it. This segment's really dark.
It
Really dark
is. It is. Yeah.
going on. It's so sad. But then the only one that really fights it or tries to, you know, well, she doesn't really. I mean, she kind of does. Maria, the wife of the older brother, like she is like, when Gorka comes back and he's like, "Can you hand me my grandson? I want to hold him," and she's like cradling him, like, "I don't know, I don't want you anywhere near him," and he basically like threatens her, like, she almost has no choice. She has to give in to his demand. But there's a little play on it to where he almost wills you to do what he wants you to do in a way. Because at the
Hmm.
end of the segment, he wills Spanka to kind of go with them and follow.
Hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of the power comes from too.
Well, the thing is in that, like, so the story is pretty much, or part of the story is, he was going to be away for 5 days.
5 days.
Anything past that, he was like, if I show up, you got to kill me. And the
Oh,
thing is he showed up like the next day or whatever. They were expecting him on the fifth day,
what
and
was it?
he showed. Mhm.
A minute past 12, so it was like right on the dot that he
Yeah, it
showed
was
up.
like literally the next day. So he showed up, and they were like, kind of look at him and puzzled, and he was like, he uncloaked himself, and he was like, "Is no one going to help an old man?"
Right. I'm
I just
wounded.
love it.
I'm
Yeah,
wounded.
I'm
Yeah,
wounded.
he had a wound, like, and even his son's like, "That's in your heart." So, and that's the only way to defeat a Wordalac is you have to stab them through the heart. And so that should go to tell you that,
And cut their head off.
and cut their and decapitate, right, and decapitate them. Which, dude, that decapitated head, holy shit, that looked really cool. Oh my
It did.
god, that's really grotesque and really, we haven't even gotten to that point yet. Holy shit, we gotta wait till the next segment. Holy shit, man. But yeah, this severed head looked really good. The cool thing about it is, and I'll save that for when we get into the next segment, because I want to tie the two in together. But
Okay.
yeah, he just whips it out of the bag. He's like, ah, there he is, and it's like a severed head. And it's like, whoa, holy shit, this was 1963. You don't see 7 heads in movies.
And then he's like hanging outside.
They hang it outside, and it's fucking just insane looking. It's so eerie.
It's pretty good looking, actually. Oh man, practical effects.
Oh, they were so good, man.
Love it.
This movie, they're fucking amazing.
So at this point, too much crazy shit's going down in this house, and Vladimir is like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna grab my beautiful big-breasted blonde and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So, and then I love it. Like he's like, I'm gonna take you to a safe place, and he takes her to like a fucking crypt with dead bodies.
I was thinking, watching this, those ruins, do they not look like the same ruins from Black Sunday?
Yes.
I guarantee that was the same set. I guarantee they shot on the same set.
You know what? You know what's even weirder? Like while I was watching it, I was honestly looking at it, and I was like, damn, this set almost looks like the Blind Dead set.
Yeah.
Like,
The thing it looks like, yeah.
and it's so odd to me how, and even because isn't the Blind Dead like a Spanish film? Like it's from Spain, right?
Yep.
So, just two different cultures and everything, and it looks very similar.
It also didn't come out around the same time. That came out in the 70s. So
Yeah.
that's crazy. Maybe Osorio, maybe he took inspiration from that.
Osorio Diodati, right? Or
Amon de Osorio, who is the director.
yeah, Osorio, yeah.
He might have took inspiration from that. I don't know. I mean, the only thing I could see when I saw those crypts, I was thinking of Black Sunday.
Yeah.
I was like,
Definitely. I mean, yeah.
Well, both of these movies were shot for API, American International Pictures, so maybe that just goes to show, like, it's got to be the same set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, could be.
Yeah, that's what I gathered from it. I couldn't look it up. I couldn't find any information on that, but it really looks similar. Let's just say.
Wish we could pick his brain about it.
I wish we could too, man. This is actually a rarity. This is the only film in Boris Karloff's career where he actually portrayed a vampire.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Another little cool thing is every time he's on screen, Boris Karloff barely ever blinked.
Yeah, I noticed that. And it goes back to what you were saying, where he almost could control them with his eyes. I could see that. And, honestly, like, and this isn't a knock towards Boris Karloff, but, I mean, you see that with Bela Lugosi's Dracula. You see it with, even in White Zombie, Bela Lugosi does it in White Zombie too. So I think it's a classic trope it's like he took that from the early years of the Universal films, kind of, because that was done a lot in like the 30s and stuff.
Oh yeah, and like I said, this was a love letter to that kind of stuff from Bava. So of course, yeah, I can totally see him taking that and using. I mean, it's a vampire essentially. He wills his victims, and from that, I mean, yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, I can totally see that.
Definitely. But yeah, I did notice that, and I think that's an added touch, in my opinion.
So the cool thing that you mentioned about the end, Corey, that you were kind of concerned about the love angle to the story that worked for you at the end. I'm kind of curious if it's the same thing we're thinking of here. I think it is, but I'm just...
Before we fully get into that, there's a shot that I really do love. So basically, he makes her a little pallet, and he's like, we can sleep here for the night, and then we'll head home, or we'll head out of here. And so he lets her fall asleep. He, I guess, was supposed to keep guard or whatever, but, he was a piece of shit boyfriend that just fell asleep on her.
He did the blend thing on her. Fell asleep.
Yeah, so he fell asleep, and I guess, what did she hear her voice, or she heard her name or something? Yeah. But she was being called clearly to her father out there, and in the, I don't know what you call it, crypt, I guess. So she goes out. He's there, and then she's now surrounded by her entire family.
Which, no, the crazy thing was that she was surrounded by the older brother and his wife, and then her father, but not the grandson or the other brother. I guess they must not have been available to shoot that day. I don't know, because they weren't. They were there. I was looking for them. Like, are they there?
Yeah.
They weren't there. So I'm like, they must not have been available.
Yeah, I did notice. Well, I didn't notice that the other brother wasn't there. I did notice that the little boy wasn't there. Um, and again, for this being a 1960s film, that's, I mean, that's touching something that's not done in most films, where a child has been killed, essentially, and turned into a vampire, for that matter. So yeah, I think that was a little early for its time.
There's a lot of
Um,
early stuff that Bava did, man, that like you didn't see back then. Like, it's very, very crazy that he was able to do this. And
mhm.
that's another one. Like, fuck.
Well, one of the things I really love about this shot, though, is she pretty much, it feels like she gives in to what's going on now. She's like, okay, she's accepting her fate.
That's in your face.
And so, and I love this, but they walk slowly to her, almost to give a presence that they're gliding towards her.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And
Yeah.
and crypt setting, like all of it, it's just so, man. How many times have we said that about these Bava films? Like, these shots, these scenes are fucking framed perfectly,
Hmm.
composed perfectly. Like, it's just this is just what he does. This is what he does. He is a masterful filmmaker.
So now going into the end of it. So clearly, Vladimir figures out she's not there. He goes back to the farmhouse. The farmhouse is wide ass open. No one else is around, you know. He goes in, finds his love of his life all of a sudden. And that's when she explains to him, you know, I left because I didn't want this for you, you know. And this is what I love. I love the fact that any film that did this, I think I would have an issue with, had it not been executed, this ending been executed the way it was. He leans in and lets her bite him to
Mhm.
turn him.
Yeah.
That's true love.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, it's a beautiful ending, really.
It really is. It's
It just
poetic.
goes, yeah, it goes to show how much thought and care and love for filmmaking Mario Bava has, you know, and made this ending like this. It's really awesome, and I dig it. You know, I didn't, like I said, most films it's like, oh, I'm suddenly in love with you. I don't like that shit. But in this case, the ending just kind of, it just, and it's, I mean, it's an anthology. It's like an anthology. It's one story that came to full fruition at the end. Love that. You know, so I dig it.
It's awesome, man. It's
Yeah.
great
Was
stuff.
that what you were thinking?
Well, I was thinking, like, yeah, basically, like, because she was like, no, I don't want this for you. But then when he really pushed the fact that I'm in love with you, I love you, then she was able to accept him, because the word of lack, you're going after the ones that you love. So it
Hmm.
makes sense that she would then turn him after he proclaimed his love for her the way he did. And I was like, okay, that's poetic. That's a great ending. I mean, that you came full circle with this. I mean, like, it's not like it truly cements the fact that it was love at first sight.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
I
it's
love it.
like it's a weird, like, incestual thing with the word of lack and in this family, and it's almost like, oh, it's yeah, man. Just gonna throw that out there. It just feels like it. I mean, but
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's almost like, here's horror, it's in your face, but
yeah,
here's the beauty of this story,
right.
and I dug it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you said, I mean, you said it perfectly. Very poetic. You
very
know,
cool. Yeah,
I love it. I dug it.
that's it, man. We're on to the third segment.
All right.
Oh.
So third segment doesn't have a weird title.
Drop of Water.
The Drop of Water. I like the title. That's cool.
Simple and effective.
Yeah. The story was simple and effective. I love it.
It really was. This was very simple.
Yeah. What was she? What was her, like, what would you say her?
So she basically, I looked it up. She was a nurse. I mean, she was on-call nurse,
Okay.
essentially. And this, basically, she's at home in her apartment, just hanging out on a Friday night. I don't know. She looks like she's having a good time. She's playing some music. She's
By
chilling.
herself.
And she gets a phone call from somebody that wants her to go to a patient at their house. So she's very, very upset. She doesn't want to do it. She's relaxing for the night. She's like, I'll do it in the morning. I'll do it in the morning. No, you need to come now. You need to come now. She's like, okay, all right, finally. But and another reason she doesn't want to go out is because there's a storm outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavy storm. So she's like, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Let me go in the morning. Let me go in the morning. But she's the I think it's the maid is pleading with her, please come. You know, you're the only one that knows how to deal with this. I don't know how to deal with it. The doctor is not responding, or the doctor's not here, so I need you. You're the closest thing to the medical aid that I have. So when she gets to the patient's house, it's the medium who was conducting seances, but her heart was so weak that she died during one of her seances, and her body is laid out on the bed. And I swear to you, dude, the face of this body of this woman will haunt your nightmares. It is fucking eerie and creepy looking as hell.
Yeah, she was pretty creepy looking.
It was amazing how that was. I don't know if it's like,
I think it was wax.
it was like wax, but it's like a mask. But it's almost, you could possibly see someone do that with their face in a way. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it. It's so bizarre, but it's so effectively creepy, dude. It
is.
I mean, it's just a death stare, and it's like a contorted mouth, and it's like a death stare. I mean, this doesn't really do it justice, but that's kind of the face of the lady. But it's if you look right there, it is. I mean, that's chilling.
Yeah.
That face. So,
oh man, honestly,
and she's just like, oh God, like what the fuck did I get myself into? So they're essentially what they're doing, like dressing the body.
Yeah, getting it prepped, I guess. I don't know. Like, why couldn't that have waited until in the morning?
Well, the maid's like freaking out, like she doesn't like want to be there. She's kind of like, I just want to get out of here. I don't feel right.
Yeah,
about
blame her. That thing was fucking creepy looking. I mean, and then all the fucking cats that were everywhere. You know, that place probably smelled like piss.
Oh God, yeah. Ugh, it's cats everywhere. This is a cat lady. But she's just like, I just want to get this done so we can get the fuck out. I needed help. I called you. You were
She wouldn't even go near the body.
Right. She wouldn't even go near the body. She wasn't having any of it. So our nurse, Helen, is her name, while she's examining the body of the medium, she notices a very, very beautiful ring on her finger. It's like, I wonder. So she kind of takes it upon herself to try to steal the ring, the dead medium. And we've learned in horror films, you never steal anything from somebody that's dead. It never works out for you.
No.
Never works out for anybody.
No.
So, respect people's personal stuff, and when they passed on, don't try to rob them and steal their stuff.
No.
That's the main take from this. But she does. She thinks she can get away with it. She distracts the maid long enough to actually work the finger off of the corpse and put it in her hideaway.
Well, she loses it. She drops it.
She drops it, yes.
And knocks over a cup.
Knocks over a glass of water, so you hear the sound of dripping water. That is a motif for the rest of the short. That fly. That damn fly. The fly buzzing around. Which is funny because the fly keeps landing on her finger where the ring used to be.
Yeah.
So it's telling you, like, there's something going on here. There's something otherworldly happening. Like there's a haunting. There's a chill in the air. There's a haunting going on. And basically, she leaves after she's done prepping the body. She returns to her apartment, and she tries to, unwind and relax with the ring. But all of a sudden, she hears like she's bombarded with the sound of dripping water all over her apartment. She goes to the sink, turns off the faucet, even wipes the spigot to stop the water from dripping, but she still hears the dripping sound. She's starting to kind of unravel and kind of lose her mind. She keeps hearing the sound over and over and over again. And then she hears a fly buzzing still. And it continuously like torments her throughout the segment. Really good.
Yeah, that fly was fucking with her pretty bad.
Yeah.
I must say, before we go further, if I was that chick and I walked up in that place and I seen, like I've been around, a dead body before a couple times, and none of them are, contorted the way that thing was, and that was fucking eerie. Had I walked in and I seen that, I'd have been like, "Fuck that bitch, I'm out."
I'm out. No.
I'm not. No, you're gonna have to find somebody else for this. I quit.
Yeah. I don't care how much you're paying me. You're not paying me nearly enough. I'm out of this. But her greed was what kept her there. She wanted that ring. She wanted to steal it. She wanted to get that money. So she was able to. You could tell like she was visibly like disturbed by what she saw, by the face and the corpse. But her greed motivated her to get past that and take that ring for herself and get the fuck out of Dodge after that.
Well, I like the fact that she like closed the eyes and then dealt with that where she was trying to, scrummage around to pick it up and everything. And then she stood up and looked and the fucking eyes were open again.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Awesome.
No.
Very effective. Simply effective. Very simply.
Yep. And then, and then the shot with the fly in her apartment, that was hilarious. I was fucking cracking up. She starts swatting everywhere, like losing her fucking mind.
And the camera work for that scene is really cool too, because it's so chaotic and so frantic.
I love it. Yeah, it was a neat touch.
My favorite thing about this segment is her apartment. She lives, and there's like this neon green sign that's flashing constantly. You see it. And I almost wish she had her lights off the whole time, because when she turns the lights off in the apartment, like you could see the green glow constantly going, and it's so cool, dude. I love it. But onto the theme about the sound effects that you hear in each segment. The sound effect you hear in this one is the storm, the rain. Yeah, that's the sound effect for this one. So, and the fly. You hear the fly too. Like you can't not hear it in dripping water.
Yeah.
But this one's more based on sound and sound design and stuff.
Get you on your edge, from the sound alone.
Right. The sound of the dripping water really is cool because it's really, really effective. It sounds like I don't know, dude. It's really, really like the sound quality, the sound design is really, really perfect in there. The flying buzzing sound. I mean, you would think it's a simple thing to do, but like it's so prominent and so well crafted that it's like I said, it's Bava at his best, man. He has a way of like, if he's going to do something, he's going to do it 100%, and it's going to be amazing.
But yeah, everything about the apartment sequence though. I love the whole cat and mouse between her and this corpse.
Well, dude, when she goes into her room and the medium corpse is on her, not the medium corpse, the corpse of the medium is on her bed, and she sits up, I'm like, oh my fucking God, that right there will haunt you. That will haunt you.
Yeah.
And it gets even more haunting when she floats toward her. Oh, dude. It's, oh man, is it creepy as fuck. Makes the hair on my arms stand up. It's just, that face is just, it's terrifying, man.
I like the fact that towards the end, so, okay, clearly she got her, killed her, I can't remember. Was the ring on her body at the end or no?
Yeah, it was still there because the landlady stole it.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, because the fly was there.
Yeah.
And
So
the
you know now
porter
that
was-
it's
yeah, the
about
porter was-
to transition to the landlady.
yeah, because you
Yeah.
could the landlady could hear the dripping of the water.
Hmm.
So
I love that.
curse passed on to her now.
Yep.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. Such a cool little segment.
This is, man, I'm telling you, God, the takeaways from this one are just sound design, creepy mask, whack fucking mask. I don't know what it is, but it's haunting.
Hmm.
And the free neon, like I wish I had that sign. Oh, I love that thing. That was so cool. Just constantly at the same pace, just glowing. And you
Hmm.
could see it. She had a really ornate window that you could see it out of. Oh,
Well, I love the shot when she walked out and she turned off the lights.
yeah,
And everything was flashing. I dug it.
beautiful, beautifully done.
Mm. Yeah. So that's the end of that. Let's talk about the ending.
With
I,
Karloff,
do- I love the ending. Yeah.
oh, it was great, wasn't it? It
Mhm.
gives you a little glimpse on how they shot scenes and how the behind the scenes of them making the movie. That was really cool. I love all the Italian guys with the bushes running around in circles to make it look effective. It's so funny, man.
Very effective. Yeah. So yeah, I dug it. I was like, that's awesome.
And Karloff was riding on the fake horse.
Hmm. Well, at first, like it looks legitimately real. Like the horse even looks real, and then
But
like
playing to the camera, he's like, "Ooh, hey, now, calm down."
yeah,
I love that. Dude.
that's when I realized it was a fake horse.
Well,
And then it's
apparently, and I looked this up on the trivia. Apparently, Boris Karloff had his best time on the set of making this movie. Like it was one of his favorite times making a movie. Was on this set, so it really you could tell genuinely he was having fun based on the end segment or the end where he was like talking to the camera, and just you could tell he was smiling, having a good time. Just being on that fake horse, watching. He's probably getting a kick out of watching these little Italian dudes just run around in circles.
yeah.
I don't know if that was Bava or his second unit, but somebody was behind the camera shooting it. Yeah, I dig that, man.
Yeah. Bava was probably behind the other camera. It's behind that one. Yeah. I love it. I love that ending.
Yep. Great stuff, dude. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is the cool thing I forgot I was going to mention just when we got into the third segment, but apparently the severed head from the Wordalac segment and the face of the medium, that head was made by Bava's father, Eugenio Bava.
Wow.
I did not know that until I looked up a lot of trivia, and I thought I knew a lot of trivia for Black Sabbath, but I didn't know that until tonight when I looked that up. That blew my mind. I could not believe it.
That's cool.
So Mario Bava's dad effectively created like the scariest fucking face of all time.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
honestly,
awesome. Just goes to show that he was heavily inspired. I wonder if his dad was part of like a special effects department or something.
Well, no, his dad was I believe a director and a cameraman. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
It like I said, movie making ran in the Bava family. Like even Bertha Bava directs films and stuff like that, like his father and his grandfather before him. So
Wish he had more.
yeah, no kidding.
Marta Bava is amazing.
Quite a lineage for this family. Wow, like 3 generations of filmmakers. I mean, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's huge.
Movie making is in their blood. That's for sure.
Well, you ready to get into ratings?
Before we do that, can we do our favorite segments? Like our favorite segment, down to like our least favorite segment?
Okay.
I'm
yeah.
Kind of curious what yours is.
Okay.
You want to go first, or
I can. So yeah, honestly, I love that love story. I love the atmosphere of the second story. So I'm gonna say number 2 as my number 1.
Nice. Okay.
The phone coming in at a very close number 2, and then of course the third segment as the third
Wow.
for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
because I don't know. At the end of the day, like yeah, that it was creepy as shit, and it was good. But man, just the classic Italian takeaway, that second or that first segment, the phone. I loved everything about it. And it's a very close second. Like that could almost be my number 1 as well. Um, but ultimately, that love story and I don't lean towards love stories too much, especially in horror. But I just like the fact that anthology. You think of a bunch of short stories that end up into one story, and that second story almost seems that way. It's just a full circle, and I love it.
Well, it's almost
On
like
top of the atmosphere.
the Wordle could have been its own feature film. Like it didn't even have to be a segment. It could have been its own
Hmm.
movie. Because of course it was longer, but there seemed to be so much story. Like they could have stretched that out with the Turkish, you know, bandit and everything like that. They could have stretched that up into a whole feature length film, probably.
Yeah, but I think it did justice,
Oh
for what it
yeah, of
was
course.
too.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying it didn't. No, not at all. But
No,
it's almost like you could see that as not really a segment, but as its own feature length film.
mhm. Yeah, and just everything we've talked about with that second segment, the eyes, just everything. Um, I don't know. I dug it. I love the story. I love everything about it. I think it was fun. Like you said, it really honestly, like a lot of it, the atmosphere really reminded me of City of the Dead, in a
Yeah,
sense.
that movie's like that's perfect atmosphere to me.
Yeah,
Perfect.
definitely.
Can't wait to can't wait to talk about that movie, man. Oof.
That'll be a good one. So, what about you? What's your 1 through 3?
This is interesting because me and you are almost opposite. It's interesting. My hands down favorite segment is Drop of Water. I think this is a perfect anthology segment in my opinion. Perfect. It's simple and effective, and it's perfect. It's the shortest one, but it's the most effective one for me, which says a lot, which makes it my favorite. My favorite segment. Second, my second would be the Word Lot. I love that one. I love them all, of course, but like I said, I'm a personal favorite. Word Lot.
Mm-hmm.
As much as a Giallo fan freak that I am, the phone would be my third.
Wow. Yeah.
My third, yeah. It's crazy, but I love Drop of Water. I think it's fucking brilliant. It's a perfect anthology segment to me.
Yeah. That's the way I feel about the phone. I feel that
I can see that.
it's very fast. It's subtle, and just the colors, and like I said, just the sheer beauty of your main character, Rosie.
Oh,
In that segment, just every shot that she was in, it was just gorgeous. I don't. It's so weird because it felt like the set was even designed around her.
yep.
Just perfectly. I mean, everything about that whole segment was perfect in my opinion.
She is without question the central point of that story, and she's almost like the catalyst for the story in a sense where, like you said, the camera's like pretty much revolving around her. Everything she's almost center frame in every shot. Like she's so perfectly framed
Hmm.
in every shot of that sequence. It like I said, it really is like Bava just taking it to another level like he does, and it's
Hmm.
incredible, man.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
That's cool though. So your favorite is the phone. My favorite is Drop of Water. That's cool. And then Word Life, both are second. Well, you said it's close though.
Well, Wordalac is my first.
Oh, it's your. Oh, excuse me. Okay, I thought phone
Yeah.
was your. All right.
Yeah, phone was second. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Interesting, because that's the one where I thought you weren't going to come on the highest with because of the love angle thing. But you
I
really that ending must have really sealed it for you.
I really liked it. I dug it. You know, I don't know. It just kind of sat well with me.
Okay,
You know,
because
and then ultimately, like the atmosphere, I really dug the atmosphere. I could actually almost see that segment being black and white and being really well executed.
great, yes, it would. It would be great. Out of all the
Yeah.
segments, that would black and white for sure.
Yeah. So, ready to get into ratings now?
I am when you are, brother.
All right. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to?
I mean, I want to see, because this is the first time watching you, isn't it?
It was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. At the end of the day, um, you know, I used to not be big on anthologies at all. I didn't. I just didn't really care for them. Something about just a whole bunch of short stories I didn't feel like was worth my time. And again, I don't know. I had an epiphany where I started watching them. I think All Hallows Eve really changed that perspective for me. And then ever since then, I started watching anthologies like Body Bags and what was it? Oh God, what was that? What was the one with Tom Holland? Was it Tom Holland that did it? Yeah, I don't know. Two Evil Eyes, I think it's called.
Oh, that was Romero and
Argento. Yeah, see there. But I dug that one too, and then of course, huh?
what's that one again? It's called one time stuff.
Yeah, and one of the other ones that really turned me to anthologies was Body Bags as well. You know, Carpenter's take on anthology. Love it.
Well, you have two of the greatest ones in Trick or Treat and Creep Show. So
Mm. Yeah, and that's another one. Yeah, Trick or Treat and Creep Show. Yeah. So I mean, there was some later on anthologies that really got me into it. So I'd always wanted to check this one out, and never really did. And of course, you know, now I'm getting into Mario Bava and watching his filmography and loving every minute of it. And yeah, just this one, I dug every segment. It was really hard for me to sit here and say which one I liked over the other. Um, yeah, if I mean, I don't know. They were just all masterful in my opinion.
they really are.
And they each
Least
well they
favorite, like, it's still like it's fucking brilliant. So
yeah well each of them have their own little thing that I just love about them, you know. And like for instance, you know, the phone is the colors and just the beautiness. Um, the Wordalac, you know, I just love the storyline of it. I dug it. And then the last one, of course, the sound of the dripping. I dug that. That was, to me, that was more haunting than watching her float to her. That scene where she's rocking in that rocking chair really creeped the fuck out of me. Like
yeah.
that was pretty creepy. It wasn't when she sat up. It was when she was rocking in that fucking chair.
For me, it was when she sat up, and when she was floating toward her. Oh, it get closer and closer. I'm like, oh man, that's. If I was in that situation, I'd be like, I would be fucking, I would be shocked. It's shocked. Which
Yeah.
say because they say the detective. I'm sorry to cut. I'm sorry to cut you
There
off.
you go.
The detective said that, yeah, she strangled herself. I'm like, strangled
Yeah.
herself.
Cause of death was strangulation of herself.
Self-strangulation.
Self strangulation. I love that. You know, well, I'm kind of getting off of subject, but you know, when I was doing my genealogy and reading some of the death reports of my family members in my family, um, some of it's just really odd stuff. Like, you know, self-inflicted gunshot wound by accident. it was actually written on a death certificate. I was like, how the hell did you do that by accident? You know, stuff like that. So it was pretty cool how stuff was worded. So I dug it. But yeah, getting back to this, 5. Yeah, I mean, just there was nothing bad about any of the segments. You know, the only thing that I can gripe or anything about is the fact that, you know, an anthology, more of the films usually do a full circle into a
Yeah,
major, yeah. But in this case, it was just literally short segment.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a compilation of short films that the maestro put together,
Yep.
which I dig. So 5-star.
5-star. Hey, I don't think I don't think I could have said it any better. You said that each one of these segments has its own personality, has its own thing that makes it stand out, and I think that was brilliant because they really do. I was going to mention that as well. Like each one of them is significantly like its own thing, and it works right. If you put any one of these segments in another anthology, it's automatically removed from the best segments in the whole anthology. I mean, they're that strong, they're that precise, they're that detailed. Bava's, like I said, Bava's framing and camera work is fucking amazing. Really captures like everything, and it all looks great. It's almost like he gets the perfect shot on the first take every time, and I don't know how he does that. I really don't. It's got to be so strenuous to do this and continue on your career like this, but he was able to do it masterfully. And like I said, I don't think anybody. I mean, there's so many multiple takes, and I don't know how many takes Bava had, but it really feels like every shot was his perfect take.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it just goes to show you how he's able to frame a scene and frame a shot and compose a scene and really work with his crew. I think his crew deserves credit too. Just everybody on top of their game and top form. And like I said, this is tough because I know depending on what version you watch, some people have just, you know, some people are really tough with subtitles. They don't like to read subtitles while they're watching the movie, and I didn't really get into that a lot when I was speaking about the dialogue and everything like that. But there is subtitles in the version we're watching. I'm sure there's going to be subtitles or versions out there that people watch. So if you don't like subtitles, it's going to be tough for you to watch it. I get that.
Yeah.
Some people flat out hate subtitles. I mean, they just can't do it. It distracts them from the movie, and they can't pay attention to the movie. I've seen so many foreign films where it doesn't bother me at all, so I really can't critique. I'm not going to critique it. It's not even a critique for me, but I know a lot of people don't like it, so I just have to put that out there. But for me, this is another Grand Slam, 5 out of 5. Of course, I mean it's Bava.
Mm-hmm.
Black Sunday, Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
So, and of course, Kill Baby Kill. I mean, like I said, but those two are so like compared, and they're companion pieces really at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
every time I think of Black Sabbath, I think of Black Sunday, and every time I think of Black Sunday, I think of Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
5 out of 5 for me, man.
Right on. Right on.
Perfection.
Yep. Well, you ready to land it?
I am.
Cool.
For sure.
All right, folks. Well, we appreciate you watching the episode on Mario Bava's Black Sabbath. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope we didn't ruin anything for you. Make sure that you tell your friends about us. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And like I said before, if you haven't been to our Facebook group, head over there and chat it up with us. It is a closed group. You ask, we'll let you in. We love the community that we have there, and people posting things and talking. We love it. So make sure that you head over there and check us out if you haven't. But with that,
Family.
huh?
I said, come join the family.
Definitely. Come join the family.
Arms.
With open arms. Anyways, yeah, that's it. Tony, you got anything?
No, man, that was perfect.
All right. Well, folks, we appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Later.
Later, guys.